Allora, buongiorno, sono Edoardo Winspeare e vi parlo dal Castello di Tutino, almeno è il Castello di Tutino virtuale. Questo è il nostro progetto insieme ai miei soci Gustavo Caputo, Mauro Pantaleo, Luigi De Vecchi, Livio Zelli, Maria Celeste Casciaro, Iaia Guarini e Chiara Cavallo. Siamo quattro amici con quattro mogli con quattro mariti. L'idea è siccome non possiamo aprire il castello per le restrizioni dovute al Covid e perché stiamo ancora ultimando i lavori, abbiamo pensato di incontrare dei personaggi interessanti, per lo più amici, ma non solo, in vari campi della cultura, dell'arte, della politica, dell'impegno sociale, che sono soprattutto però personaggi originali, non convenzionali. Oggi sono molto contento di aver invitato a parlare con noi una persona molto speciale che parla un po' di italiano, ma non è la sua lingua madre, naturalmente, la sua lingua madre è il tedesco, ma noi parleremo inglese. Lui è il principe Stefan del Liechtenstein, che ha un passato di economista, di banchiere, di grande successo e ultimamente è stato ambasciatore in dei posti molto importanti che sono la Svizzera, la Germania e ultimamente presso la Santa Sede. Naturalmente ambasciatore del Principato del Liechtenstein, che sembra qualcosa di non così importante, ma il Liechtenstein è una potenza economica mondiale. Allora, intanto grazie tante di aver accettato questa conversazione. Adesso parlerò in inglese perché è la lingua che tutti conoscono, che almeno la maggior parte di persone conosce. So thank you to have accepted this invitation and welcome to the Castello of Tutino.
Thank you, thank you. Great to be with you on a digital level.
I told you before that I'm quite nervous because it's the first time I have a conversation in English. Normally I have it in Italian, of course. So nothing. I briefly introduced you and said that you were a banker and now you are no, in the last 10 years, no, 15 years, you were ambassador of Liechtenstein in Switzerland, Germany, and the Holy See. You say Holy See in English?
Holy See.
Holy See.
Holy See.
Holy See. Okay. How do you consider yourself? More a banker, more an ambassador?
I'm a mixture. I'm a mixture, right? At this present, I have, I think, between 8 and 10 different functions. I'm a diplomat, as you mentioned, for Liechtenstein, which is a great privilege to be a diplomat at the Holy See, to meet people in these beautiful buildings and rooms. You can't even say meeting rooms because they're frescoes of Raffaello and Michelangelo, and it's fantastic. And they are very interesting, and the people around the Holy Father are hardworking, with a very open spirit, globally oriented and multilingual, and so it's quite fascinating. But at the same time, I'm also a businessman, because I'm not a full-time diplomat. It's about 10% of my time, not more, and I'm not paid. It's on an honorary basis, you know. Come si dice nella chiesa, il pagamento è dopo dopo la morte. And so I have to earn some money, and I'm a businessman. I'm in different companies, director, very different things in tourism. Here in Austria, by the way, greetings from Austria. Here in Austria, I have a little coffee, which I run, a coffee shop, cafeteria, una villa nel sud di Austria. But at the same time, I'm director in 4 other companies, also dealing with worldwide investments. And then I have quite a few functions in foundations, charity foundations, and initiatives. And actually, this work takes about 50% of the time of my wife and myself. So, you know, it's quite a fascinating time. I have to switch my brain every time between those 8 and 10 functions, and I hope it keeps me young.
Okay. I'm very interested in your work as an ambassador, as a diplomat. I have to reveal something now. I'm your cousin, actually.
Cugino.
Cugino. I thought I reveal it at the end, but I can't stand this pantomima too long. So.
Sì, no, noi siamo cugini. Fantastico.
Because my mother is the sister of Stefan's father, and I was born there, actually, more or less in Carinthia. And no, we let's say we grew up together, and then I made my career here in Italy as a film director, especially a very minor film director who writes his stories and shoots his films all in Puglia. But I followed your career with great interest, because you are not full-time job ambassador, but you were full-time job ambassador in Berlin and in Switzerland. So tell me about your relation with the power, with the government, with Angela Merkel, and also now I'm very interested in your relation with Papa Francesco and Curia. If something changed, because you met also Pope Benedictus XVI, speaking Latin now, Benedetto XVI, and also Pope Wojtyła. I don't know if you met him as well. Oh, okay. So the question is, tell me about how is to deal with power, and what does it mean to be ambassador of Liechtenstein? Well, and it's a very complex question, but you know, I'm very curious. Go on.
Yeah, actually, you know, when I was ambassador of Liechtenstein to Germany, this is of course a full-time job. Germany is a very important country for Liechtenstein because not many people know that Liechtenstein has a lot of industrial corporations, and Germany is among our top export countries. Liechtenstein has a very high GDP, gross domestic product. Per capita, we have a very, although the country is small, we have a powerful economy. It is industrial corporations, it's banks, it's service industries. And Germany is a very important country. It's also the country where the most foreign investments of Liechtenstein companies are. So Liechtenstein companies naturally, you know, the largest Liechtenstein company has 22,000 employees working for the company, and they can't all work. What?
How many inhabitants has Liechtenstein?
38,000.
Incredible.
So all the 22,000 cannot work in Liechtenstein. So they have subsidiaries in Germany, all over the world, in Asia, in America, and Germany was extremely important in this sense. But Germany is 2,200 times bigger, larger than Liechtenstein. And so I was always confronted with the question, if I feel like a mouse vis-a-vis an elephant. Yeah? And so this picture of a little mouse vis-a-vis a big elephant is a bit frightening. And I started to calculate the numbers, and I found out we are much more than a mouse vis-a-vis an elephant. If you take the population and the economy power and everything together, we are like an eagle. An eagle. We have the same weight like an eagle vis-a-vis an elephant. And this picture is much better. It gives you more self-confidence, you know, flying through the air.
You felt like an eagle when you met the elephant, Frau Merkel.
Actually, I very often felt like a mouse, but I tried to remember. And then you asked me about the power, political power. Certainly, when I first met the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, I almost fainted. I lost my conscience, almost. Yeah, it was a very special situation when we first shook hands, and it's a very long story. But the next day we met, and the room was closed. Yeah. We met in a room with I was accompanying our prime minister, and we were a very small delegation of Liechtenstein, of course, and the German delegation was much bigger. But as soon as the doors closed, Angela Merkel was completely different. She, as every politician in the world, she has to have a face vis-a-vis the media. And when the doors closed and you can actually talk, she's completely different, and you find out that she's extremely competent. She can be very charming and friendly. She was actually quite charming with me, and making jokes. And but she's very competent. She knows everything she is talking about. She has in her head. She doesn't need people, you know, talking to her all the time to explain. She knows everything. And it is, of course, fascinating to meet someone like Angela Merkel.
And talk about Papa Francesco, and you had a conversation with him. What kind of?
As an ambassador to the Holy See, you don't have many conversations with the Holy Father, but I was when I presented my credentials as a non-resident ambassador, not living in Rome. We were together with 5 other ambassadors, and the interesting thing is that my delegation of Liechtenstein was larger than the delegation of India. because I had my whole family. I asked my whole family to join me, and even my mother. And in India there were only 3 people, and we were 6. So this it shows you something, how a small country can even. And then vis-a-vis il Vaticano, Liechtenstein è più grande del Vaticano. l'unico stato nel mondo dove noi abbiamo un po' di confidenza.
There is a competition among the little states. So Monte Carlo, San Marino, Lussemburgo, Luxembourg, Liechtenstein.
Yeah, but you know, the Holy See is not the Vatican. That's what the first thing that head of protocol tells you. You are not an ambassador presso il Vaticano. You are an ambassador presso la Santa Sede, and la Santa Sede is representing 1.5 billion Catholics worldwide. So, yeah. Pope Francis, Papa Francesco, is a very modest person. He, you've seen it many times. He doesn't like lots of protocol. He doesn't like the old Holy See protocol, you know. Imagine 120 years ago, I would have to kiss the foot, the shoe of the Pope. Yeah. Today,
even as an ambassador.
Yeah, as a little ambassador, maybe both shoes. But today it is the ring, yeah. But he even doesn't like this. So when you try to make this very, very protocol thing, and he pushes down his hand, very modest. He speaks very well German.
Yeah, but he studied in Germany.
Studied in Germany, and he always asks for prayers. So imagine the top person in the Catholic Church asking little Stefano for prayer, and very, very kind. When I introduced my family, and it came to my youngest daughter. And our youngest daughter looked into the eyes of Papa Francesco. She was so overwhelmed with the warm view in his eyes. Il était tellement chaleureux. He was so, you know, you could feel the relationship from the heart, from this Pope to this young girl of 19 years. That she didn't stop shaking his hand. She looked in his eyes and was like this. And the other, the sister and the brother were behind the Pope, and they made, stop, come on.
I'm out.
So, yeah. But for all the meetings and conversations we have about, you know, topics with the Santa Sede, we never meet the Pope. We meet archbishops, cardinals in the different dicasteries, and very fascinating.
Actually, I think the Vatican is the oldest state in the world, maybe. No, no, maybe
yeah.
maybe Japan. I don't know.
Yeah,
it exists.
It's definitely the oldest institution in the world.
The oldest institution.
The church.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has seen so many times. I'm a Catholic, so for me it's the center of the world.
So, Stefan, you are the ambassador to the Holy See of the Principality of Liechtenstein, but you are called Liechtenstein. You are part of the family. What does it mean for you to be a Liechtenstein? I think Liechtenstein is very many people, they misunderstand what is Liechtenstein because they think this is only a financial power. And you said that it's also has an industry, an important industry. But I think it's interesting also because it's the last remain of the Holy Roman Empire. You say this in English, you call it like this. So the question is, what does it mean for you being a Liechtenstein, representing Liechtenstein? What is Liechtenstein as a family? What is Liechtenstein as a state? Difficult.
Well, the family was always very much connected to the earth. We have always been very simple people, farmers and soldiers. And then the career as soldiers was a little bit more important. Suddenly, about 500, 400 years ago, and then the career in Austria really started, military career and as well as economical power. And about 300 years ago, actually, quite exactly 300 years ago, in 1719, after two little counties were bought in the years before, in 1719, it was possible to unite these two little counties between Switzerland and Austria, to give them the name Liechtenstein, and to make them an independent territory reigned by a reigning prince in the Holy Roman Empire of German nation. The country was very poor, and until 1850, 1860, no prince visited the country, because they stayed in Vienna and it was quite complicated to travel. What does it mean? You know, our family is very big. Our family is very big. We are about 150 Liechtensteins. So we have no glamorous role. We are not in the magazines of the world like royal families. So we are not even a royal family. We are simple people, and most of us just do a very, very normal job, as I was doing a very normal job until I became ambassador. And this was not my idea. It was the government of Liechtenstein which asked our head of state, don't you have someone of the family who could take over the job in Switzerland? And so we do our normal job, but certainly we have, we always have this connection to the country. Even if we live in other countries, we have this connection to the country Liechtenstein. As a young child, it starts by collecting stamps, postal stamps. So you know about many countries and also about Liechtenstein, and Liechtenstein has beautiful stamps until today. It is still, the Liechtenstein post office has globally more clients than the whole population of Liechtenstein. So more frequent registered clients than the population of Liechtenstein. The stamps of Liechtenstein are collected in China, in the United States, everywhere. So that's how you first learn it. And then, as you know, with our parents, they were very much in history, like your parents, also my parents. And so with our father, whenever we were driving around, he told us something about our ancestors. And this makes you feel this kind of responsibility you have. You know, you can't really do everything. You can't do everything. When you have to be careful. But in the daily life, every one of us has normal jobs and families, thanks God. And
I want to communicate the complexity of being a Middle European, because my mother, who, your father's sister, lived in a little village called Höjes, as your father, where they spoke. I counted 5 languages, because they in our family we spoke German, maybe French sometimes, and then Hungarian, don't know Schwäbisch, a dialect from Sweden. I don't know how to say it in English. Then there was a rabbinic school, so that they taught Hebrew, which was at that time a language like Latin, was before the birth of Israel, and the Jews spoke Yiddish, and the Gypsies, the Rom, spoke their language. Then the Nazi came, and there was a Shoah, so they took away all the Jews, all the Gypsies, and then when the Hungarian communists came, they were very against all the Germans. So all the peasants who spoke German were obliged to speak Hungarian. So sort of nationalism, which is now continuing a bit in Hungary. So for me, it's very interesting that this issue, this complexity of Middle Europe. And in your family, which is partly also my family, we have it within the family, because we have Hungarian blood, we have Italian blood, Venetian blood, Bohemian, Moravian, Polish. No, I would like you to say something, or if you have some thought about being a Mitteleuropäer. Normally we speak in German, so it's quite strange now to speak in English with you.
An uncle of mine once said, we do not only have one heart that is beating in our chest. We have at least 2, maybe 3 hearts. We have, in my case, for instance, I have an Austrian heart from the south of Austria, where I am right now. I have a Liechtestein heart. I have a little Italian heart as well, because both my grandmothers were from Italy. I certainly also have a Hungarian heart, because this is where my father grew up. And I even have a German heart, as my mother is German. And we still feel like being a part of the Holy Roman Empire. So which was from the North Sea to Puglia. So this is basically where I feel at home, somewhere between the Baltic Sea and Puglia. And yeah, this is characteristic. You are at home at many places. Sometimes it feels like you are not at home anywhere. But this gives you...
Or everywhere.
Or everywhere. Or everywhere. And this gives you freedom. And which in our case was good, because we were moving around. When I was working for the bank, we were moving around. When I was working as a businessman, moving around. As a diplomat, moving around. So it gives you the flexibility to accommodate at different places.
In my case, if you allow me, I say something personally. I was, because my father has an English surname, his mother was not Italian, and my mother, is your father's sister. I needed a root, and so I decided that my roots were in Puglia. But I am against all nationalism, because nationalism was made the collapse Europe, you know, in the Second World War, First World War, Second World War, and so that I think it's very interesting the multicultural experiment of the empire. Of course, there were a lot of problems between the Italians, the Hungarians, but still il mondo di ieri, die Welt von gestern von Stefan Zweig was a especially the last decades before 1914 was a period of hope, of cohabitation, you say, of armonia e pace fra europei. No, romantic, and so. Okay.
Yes, it is interesting. It was a period of hope. It was also a period where there was a lot of naivety, I would say. But at the same time, it was a period where war was still a method of foreign policy.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely normal to deal with other countries by declaring a war. It is only after the Second World War that using war as a method of foreign policy was declared as, you know, not anymore viable. And so very, very interesting time. And I think this is, I once asked our head of state, the reigning prince, Hans Adam II, whose grandmother was a Habsburg and a niece of Emperor Franz Joseph, half-sister of the heir to the throne who was shot in Sarajevo. So very close to the throne, the grandmother of Prince Hans Adam II. And I asked him about his inner feelings vis-a-vis the Habsburg monarchy. And his answer was, well, we have always discussed with my father the mistakes the Habsburgs have made around the turn of the century, around 1900. The Emperor Franz Joseph was so old that he was not prepared to make a lot of reforms. And I thought it was quite an interesting thing, because when your grandmother is a Habsburg, you could say, wow, what fantastic, the old times. And so, no, at the Liechtestein family, they discussed about the mistakes the Habsburg made. And so maybe, you know, this is an advantage of a small country, that you have to be very close to the people, and you cannot be somewhere up there. You have to be very close. You have to see where the development is going, and you have to be prepared for change.
Very interesting. So the prince Hans Adam is a very modern prince in this sense. But still, Vienna in the last 2 decades before World War I was the center of the world, because all the innovation in art, in medicine, in literature, if you think, Schoenberg in music, Freud, the psychoanalyst, Schiele, Kokoschka, Klimt, I don't know, it was really incredible. So it's a bit, you know, the last, it's a bit like when a great power has its decadency, like Venice, also Venice in the 18th century. Rome less, Rome less. Maybe we Western countries, we are now in our decadency, but I can see such a we Europeans don't see such a future. If the future is either in the far west, in the United States, or more in the far east. I would think more in Korea, and especially China, and so.
Well, it depends on how you define yourself. It's a question of identity. Europe has always been a continent of big changes. When America was discovered, Europe already had 1,500 tremendous years behind it, you know, and it was going on and on and on, and in America, after the settlers, came, you had a civil war, and then this was decided. Before it was the independence war from Great Britain, then the Civil War, and that was it. And no war since then, no war on the American territory, you know. And we in Europe, we were fighting against each other all the time, against friends. My ancestors my Italian ancestors were married to Germans and Austrian families, and they were friends. They were ambassadors to the monarchy in Vienna from Italy. And then the First World War came, and suddenly they had to be enemies. It's stupid. It's stupid.
My grandfather, from my father's side, was naval attaché in Vienna, and then in 15, because we Italian, we wait always 1 year to decide where to fight. With him to fight, and then he fought against Austrian, and he was half Trentino, so it was difficult for him. So it's true what you say. The Americans, they fight within their territory, because if we think they fought against the Indians, they fought against themselves, north and south, and there are many contradictions within the states. It's more difficult to be a European, you know, as you say.
Yeah, it's complex. It's complex, but I think if you do not only look on the economical factors, yeah. We in Europe have so many things where we can identify with, and we can actually, you know, we are proud of the culture, we are proud of the history, even in countries which have to struggle economically, people are very proud of their nation and of their language and of their inheritance. And this is something which gives people identity, and this is the best basis, you know, for the future. We simply have to be very flexible in, we have to be careful where we are flexible. There are some things like, you know, values, family values, where we don't need to be very flexible, but other things where we have to be flexible. And I'm sure the next decades will bring lots of changes.
Okay. So you're positive. You think that things, because I see a lot of negativity. I see sadness in the eyes of the people, and not hope. Because in Italy, for example, as in the Italians in the 40s, in the 50s, after the war, were very poor, but they knew they had to start again. You know, I live in South Italy, which is the poorest place of Italy, and now I don't see hope in the eyes of the people. The people, there are also few people, because we have a demographic problem. And what is your opinion for the future? Difficult question.
Well, first of all, I think there definitely will be a future, and if you if you look at a situation, especially in a crisis, and we have a very complex situation of crisis. It's not only one crisis. It's a political crisis, it's an economical crisis, it's a health crisis with this damn it COVID. And then, of course, demographical issues, social issues, the difference between rich and poor is something we have to solve in Europe. So it's a combination of crises. But these situations never are locked down, you know. We are locked down because of COVID, but the development is not locked down. It's a process. And at the end of the process, there are big chances. I was once traveling. It was after the wedding of your sister. We were traveling by night train back from Lecce to Switzerland, and when I got on the train, the football match, America against Italia, started, and then we had on the phone the first news about the football match, and then, because the train was going on, I had no connection with the phone anymore. I didn't know what the result was. In the morning, about 6 o'clock in the morning, we arrived in Milano. And I looked out of the window on the station, and the people were like, no one was talking to each other. It was complete silence in Milano. And I realized, okay, Italia has lost. And that was what happened.
Against the United States, they're not a football.
Yeah. No. But then we got out of the station on the main piazza in front of the cathedral, and there was, in big letters, which were shining, lightened with electricity, was the sentence, "Everything is going to be all right." and this is actually my personal motto. And in Berlin, I heard something they added in Berlin, you know, especially in Eastern Germany, they have experienced difficult times. So they say, in the end, everything is going to be all right. And if it's not all right, it's not yet the end.
Okay. So you said you are Catholic. Of course, you believe in God. And is your faith strong?
So now you want me to answer as a diplomat, or? Yes. The philosopher C.G. Jung was asked if he believes in God. And his answer was, I do not believe. I know he is there.
Okay.
And yeah.
He had a mystical experience, Jung, something like this.
Yeah. And I also know he's there. So I don't know if my faith is strong enough for all the challenges, but I have seen so many almost miracles in my life that there is no doubt. And if you look at the history of the people of Israel, they have been moved from one disaster to the other. And in the moments of the deepest crisis, you know, faith has been the strongest. And there is, in the history of the Christianity, there's always a connection between faith and hope. So to come back to your question before, without faith, it is very easy to lose hope.
Yeah.
But with faith, you know, that's what it's all about, you know.
Stefan, I improvise myself a political journalist, historian, and I'm a film director, and my friend said, you have to do this because I'm il saltimbanco in Italian, we say il pagliaccio, so because some people know me because I work here in Puglia, but I'm mostly known in this region. I would like, now we have to end because we talked, we had a conversation for nearly 1 hour. I would like to end with Puglia because our project is based in Puglia, and for us it's very important to contribute for the wealth, for the cultural wealth of Puglia, of Salento. We are in the heel of Italy, and you've been sometimes here. Can you say, have you an idea of Puglia? Have you an opinion about Puglia and our region? Tricase, Leuca, Lecce. Sorry, this is an Italian question because we Italian, we are not nationalists. We are every Italian, our enemies, let's say enemies, are other Italians. Because Roman against Milanese, Fiorentini against Senesi, and Venetian against. But we're still Italian. We speak Italian, and so say something because we talked yesterday about Puglia, and you told me something very interesting.
Yeah, well, I remember once when I visited Puglia, and I was picked up at the airport, and the driver asked me where we normally go, and I said, well, yeah, unfortunately not so often to Puglia, but we go to Italy every year, and because it's so close to Austria, we go to Venice. And the driver said, you swim there in Venice? And I said, in questa brodo. And we were passing the sea in Puglia, and this, of course, is a totally different story. It is it's a blue you have never seen. When you look to the horizon, you almost expect the Greek boats coming. The air is fantastic. The sun, the nature, the buildings. 2 years ago, I've made together with my wife, we've organized a big party. And we had 300 people here at our home. And I ordered as wine, I ordered red wine from Puglia. And I was sitting next to a German wine producer, a lady, and she tasted the red wine and said, oh, this is such an interesting combination of flavors. It has a natural taste like earth combined with the sweetness of perfumes. It tastes like this wine could be in the cellar for 10 or 20 years, but at the same time, it's very fresh as a young wine. It is strong and light at the same time. It tastes like sun. Where is it from? And I said, well, the grape is called Primitivo, and it's from Puglia, from my cousin, Francesco, your brother.
Castel di Salve.
Castel di Salve. And so this is what Puglia is all about. When we from Austria or from Liechtenstein go to Puglia, we go there because this is how we have experienced Italy 50 years ago. It is like what we have, the stories we heard. It's like the old films with Marcello Mastroianni, Sophia Loren. The feeling of these movies from the 60s is in Puglia today. And that's where because that's why we love it.
Okay. So Stefan, we have to end. I forgot, it was so interesting what you said, that I forgot to show the picture. Maybe I show very quickly. Oh, sorry, share the picture. Okay. You see the picture now?
Yes.
This is where you live. This is Rosek.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you have to click on it.
Yeah? You don't see, you don't
I see it. I see it. I see many pictures.
Ah, sorry.
You don't have to. I know the place where we live.
Oh, no, but I want to show to the people. Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I thought I could do it. Anyway, so danke sehr.
All right.
Danke sehr, es war fantastisch. Ich bin nicht sehr ein guter Journalist, das ist, ich habe mich arrangiert so. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was fantastic, and I'm looking forward when this strange time has ended to see you in nature, in person, and not only digitally.
You mean naked? No.
Allora.
Al naturale.
Sì.
Ciao Stefan, ciao.
Alla prossima.
Alla prossima. Ciao.